Folks, welcome back. I have your latest home prices and insights for the City of Toronto for week ending October 26, 2022. Why does this mistake keep happening? So many people get in trouble with this, and it shouldn't be happening. Let me tell you what I mean. I was talking with a young couple. Their goal is to sell their condo and buy their first house. It should be a joyous, fun, happy situation. They bought first. They went out and bought the house that was like so exciting for them to do. And now they're in a panic because their closing date is fast approaching and they've not sold their condo yet. And they've reduced price a few times. And if they reduce the price more, they won't be able to close. So they're stuck. And they're panicking, and the financial pressure is there, and it could really financially hurt them severely if they don't close. Why does this keep happening? You know, at the beginning of the year, there was an argument for buying first and then selling. And then March, April, May, June, there was this transition time that a lot of people didn't understand what's going on, and some of them got caught in that. But today, in this market that we are well into, it doesn't make any sense. Selling is not guaranteed. It makes no sense to buy first. Now, there are some situations it might. If you're buying, say, pre-construction, you're buying 2-3 years out, that's a whole different story. And in this people situation that I'm talking about, this young couple, what they bought, not only did they buy first and now having a hard time selling, but they chose a short closing date, all excited to move into their new place. Just bad advice all around. Like in this market, especially with properties sitting out there, the buyers often will have their pick of closing date and all sorts of other things. And sellers that are having a tough time selling will often bend to whatever the buyer wants. So why pick such a short closing date? Why put yourself under all this pressure if you're not sold yet? Look, if you don't need the proceeds from your sale to buy, by all means, buy first. It doesn't matter if you sell or not because you don't need that money to buy. But if the money to buy is found in the sale, if the home you currently own, you need the equity you have there to buy, to close, you got to sell first. Or what should be a happy, joyous situation, your new home, is going to turn into a nightmare. If you think this video can help somebody you know, please pass it along. Let's get into the numbers. If you want to speak with me about your real estate situation, selling, buying, it's really simple. Below this video, in the description, there's a link to my calendar. Click on that, book a time that's convenient for you. This way, I'll know ahead of time and I'll make sure my schedule's organized so we can talk about whatever's on your mind. Let's get into the numbers here. We have City of Toronto only. So there's no Mississauga numbers, there's no York region numbers, there's no Durham region numbers, just the City of Toronto, and for detached properties only, broken down by week for a whole year. For week ending October 26th, 143 detached properties were sold across the City of Toronto. That's up from the previous week. I should say that's up from the previous weeks. And actually, if we look at the summer months, sales were here, and now we look at the summer weeks. Sorry, if we look at the summer weeks, the sales are here, and if we look at the fall weeks, sales seem to be higher in the fall than what we were doing in the summer, and sales look like they're going up. Average sold price is $1,675,000, which is up from the previous week. It's up quite a bit from the previous 2 weeks. It's for the summer to the fall, lots of peaks and valleys there. And when we look at that, 1,675,000 is 13% lower than last year's average sold price. Now, when we look at that, 13% lower than last year, 17% lower than last year, the previous week, there was a time not too long ago where we were saying 15% higher than last year's, 20% higher than last year's, and we're like, wow, so much increase over last year's price. Now it's the complete opposite. So much decrease versus the previous year's price. But, you know, that was a year ago. Today, this is where we are now. Look at this figure. This year, for this week, October 26th, 36 detached properties sold at $2 million or more. Last year, in the same week, 89 properties sold at $2 million or more. Huge difference there. Well, average sold price is 13% lower. Median price of $1,252,000 is 18% lower than last year's median price. And the dotted line here for average sold price, and there's a dotted line also for the median price, that's the 4-week moving average to help eliminate some of the peaks and valleys, to make it maybe easier to see the trend. And you can kind of see what's happening for average sold price. It really hasn't moved that much, the price, since middle of August, and the median price also, it's gone up, it's come down. Looks like it's heading down now, but it still hasn't moved that much since the summertime. Looking at sales year to date, we have 31% fewer sales this year versus last year. So that's a big drop in activity. But if you look at the orange numbers, that's this year's sale. The blue is last year's, the orange is this year. You could see that the fall weeks, sales are higher than what we were selling in the summer. Listings, we have 9% fewer listings this year versus last year. And also, if you look at the orange for the fall, we have far more listings over the fall period than what we had over the summer period. Months of inventory is sitting at 2.1. And if we go back from the fall to the beginning of the fall, here week ending September 7th, months of inventory has gradually been coming down. So the market is becoming a little bit more competitive gradually, a little bit more aggressive gradually. Looking at average sold price, the fact that months of inventory is coming down slightly, hasn't moved much, kind of helps to explain why prices have generally been quite stable. Here's Toronto broken down into 3 sections. Again, this is just for detached properties. We have Central Toronto, the green is West Toronto, and the burgundy is East Toronto. Looking a little bit closer at these, West Toronto, 33 detached properties were sold. 6 of those were at $2 million or more. Average sold price up slightly over the last couple of weeks. It's now sitting at $1,330,000. $1,330,000 is 17% lower than last year's average sold price, again, for West Toronto. Median price of $1,140,000 is 27% lower than last year's median price. Months of inventory has shot up. It's now sitting at 3.7, very close to, technically what we call a balanced market, but it very much is a balanced market when you're out there. And 15% of the properties sold in West Toronto were sold at list price or more. 15% is not a lot, so there's lots of room to negotiate and make a smart choice when you're buying. Central Toronto sales shot way up. As far as what we've been doing over the summer months, so 46 detached properties were sold in Central Toronto. 28 of those were at $2 million or more. Average sold price, it's gone way up to $2,643,000. $2,643,000 is 5% lower than last year's average sold price. The median price for Central Toronto is $2,274,000, and that's 2% lower than last year's average sold price. And if you look at the 4-week moving average for both median and for average sold price, kind of looks like average sold price has been going up and median price has been going up over the last few months. Months of inventory has been coming down for a couple weeks now, sitting at 2.7. 18 is the average days on market in central Toronto, and a third of the sales, remember 46 detached properties were sold, a third of those sold at list price or more. Here's East Toronto. Sales have been, for the last 4 or 5 weeks, going up each week. 64 detached properties were sold. Only 2 were sold at $2 million or more. Average sold price is, for not maybe 6-7 weeks, has been on a straight line down almost. $1,158,000 is the average sold price in East Toronto for week ending October 26. $1,158,000 is 22% lower than last year's median price, and is 22% lower than last year's average sold price. The median price of $1,080,000 is 20% lower than last year's median price. Looking at the months of inventory, this is really hard to explain. So months of inventory is way down. It's now at 0.9 months of inventory. And since the end of September, months of inventory has basically been dropping. So now we're sitting at 0.9, with months of inventory declining over many weeks now. As months of inventory goes down, you would expect prices to be going up. That's not what's happening here. Average sold price is actually coming down. I don't know how to explain that. If you can explain it, please let me know in the comments below. This makes no sense. However, this is what's happening right now in East Toronto. Here's a quick summary of the 3 areas, West, Central, and East. East normally has the most volume, normally has the lowest average sold price, the lowest medium, normally has the lowest months of inventory, and as such, there's far more activity in East Toronto than any other parts of Toronto. Here's a quick look at semis. 41 semis were sold. 5 of those were at $1.5 million or more. Average sold price is up to $1,340,000. $1,340,000 is 4% higher than last year's median average sold price. The median price, very close to average sold price. The median price of $1,326,000 is 12% higher than last year's median price. Looking at months of inventory, we're sitting at 1.5 months of inventory for semis. 42% of those semis sold at list price or more. There's still quite a bit of competition in the semis market. Townhouses. Look, only 11 freehold townhouses were sold, so it's really tough to get accurate numbers, but these are the numbers, nonetheless. 11 were sold. 1 of those was at $1.5 million or more. Average sold price is $1,244,000. $1,244,000 is 5.5% lower than last year's average sold price. The median price of $1,252,000, so slightly higher than the average sold price, is 1.4% higher than last year's median price. You look at the 4-week moving average for both average sold price and median price, prices have been going up over the last few weeks. City of Toronto Towns has months of inventory of 2.1. 11 is the average days on market. And even though only 11 were sold, more than half of those, 55%, sold at list price or more. Let's take a close look at condos. 170 condos were sold. These are condo apartments across the city of Toronto. 17 were at $1 million or more. Average sold price has come down slightly to $730,000. $730,000 is 1% higher than last year's average sold price. And if we go back 4 or 5 weeks, we've been very, very close, hovering very close to what the average sold price was a year ago. So average sold price is 1% higher. The median price of $659,000 is 0.5%, 0.5% higher than last year's median price. And looking at the 4-week moving average, median price barely changed, coming down just fraction, very, very lightly coming down. The average price up, down, really hasn't been much change since the summer. Year-to-date sales, we have 33% fewer condo sales this year versus last year. We have 9% fewer listings this year versus last year. If you look at the orange for this year, the fall, we have more listings during the fall than we have during the summer months. And months of inventories been pretty consistent over the last few weeks, sitting at 3.7, which helps to explain why average sold price hasn't moved that much. Here's a quick summary. You know, in some areas, average months of inventory is very much a balanced market. Generally, it feels like a balanced market out there. There are pockets, still lots of competition. There's still multiple offers going on. So really, an analysis of your area of interest, where you're selling, where you're buying, that will determine your course of action. Have a great day. Thanks for watching.